Welcome to the March 11th, 2020 meeting of the City of Lake Forest Plan Commission. I'm Rosemary Kerr, Chairman of the Commission, and at this time I would like to ask members of the Commission to introduce themselves, starting on my left.
Good evening, Jamie Moorhead.
Steve Douglas.
Susan Athenson.
John Dixon.
This evening we have consideration of the minutes from the January 8th, 2020 Plan Commission meeting. Have all commission members had the opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, and I have submitted some comments and a few typos to Kathy Cerniak. Does anyone else have any suggestions or additions?
No.
I did it via email to Kathy.
Great, okay.
I'd make a motion to accept the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. Tonight, we have a public hearing and action for consideration of a request for approval of a special use permit to authorize Little Italy, a new restaurant to occupy tenant space in an existing building at 508 Northwestern Avenue. A portion of the proposed restaurant is located within 150 feet of the property that is currently zoned for residential use. Property owners, Lake Forest Plaza LLC, Representative Frank Visconti. And I'd like to ask commission members at this time, do they have any ex parte contacts or conflicts of interest to report?
No.
No?
No.
I would like to swear in all parties who are planning to speak tonight, the petitioner and also any members of the audience. Would you all please rise? For those intending to speak, do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you're about to give or have previously given is true and correct to your best knowledge? Thank you. Now, the petitioner has up to 20 minutes to make a presentation, and when we come to the public testimony portion, we do ask members of the public to limit their comments to no more than 5 minutes each. Please go to the podium. Yes, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Frank Visconti. I've been a resident of Lake Forest for over 45 years. I went to Deer Path, from Deer Path to Lake Forest High School. And my family is known in Highwood to have owned a couple of Italian restaurants in Highwood. They were very successful. We actually won #1 authentic Italian restaurant in North Shore a couple years back in the day, in the 80s and 90s. And I have been in this business since I was a kid. I remember I was 6 years old carrying water to the tables for our customers and for Lake Forest residents and Highland Park residents and the whole North Shore. I recently acquired Caputo's Cheese Market. I'm the new owner of Caputo's Cheese Market, which is called Visconti Cheese Market. Nat Caputo came to me and said, "Hey Frank, you know, I wanted to close it, but there's been a lot of people in the community that are very sad." So we struck a deal and we made it happen. But before we struck this deal, I was planning to open up a restaurant there next to Chiefs and Egg Harbor. That was my first project. But when that came to me, he said, "Hey Frank, I really don't want to close this down. Can we work? You know, everybody knows you're in town. Let's try to," and we did. So we are in the process of, with the Visconti Cheese Market, expanding, doing catering, and we're actually adding more products or more items. I've been a resident here for a long time. We also own Visconti Foods, which is, I import all my products from Italy. I'm in 30,000 stores all around the country. Kroger's, we do a lot of private label for some big major superstores, grocery stores. So our office is based in West Lake Forest, which is at 150 Conway Field Drive. And we also do the private events for the 4th of July. I don't know if you've been to the 4th of July events, but the last 2 years, we've done all the food for the 4th of July. And that's one of the biggest things I'm proud of. Growing up as a kid, I used to sit there and I said to myself, one day, I'm going to be doing that food. Sorry. Rick Amos came to me and made my dream come true, just for the city of Lake Forest and the people of Lake Forest. And I'm really proud. I am so proud to be doing that right now. Last year, we did the VIP tent, which was a big honor because there was another 500 people that we catered. And we bring a whole kitchen out, and we do it right. We do it by the code. We do everything the way it's supposed to be done. And we take care of the residents of the city of Lake Forest. And I'm very proud that I'm still here in Lake Forest, and now this restaurant is going to continue with my family legacy, because we did own Little Italy restaurant, and 2 guys from Italy and I would. And when my mom passed away, she was like, keep going, keep going. And this is one of the reasons why I'm here. I'm sorry. So we have a beautiful location there. Our hours are going to be from 5 until 9 or 10 o'clock. And it's just going to be authentic Italian food. It's going to be a family-based Italian restaurant. We're actually thinking about putting white and red checkerboard tablecloths with a nice white butcher paper on top, and actually have the little maroon candles back in the day. Just really authentic, where a family can come in and have a good Italian food that's not going to break their wallet. And we're also putting in a wood-burning pizza oven, which the gentleman's going to be sitting there. You can actually watch him make your pizzas and throw it in this big wood-burning pizza oven. And no one here in Lake Forest has that. It's something new that we're bringing to the city of Lake Forest. We're going to continue doing all the events for the city of Lake Forest. We do when the concert here in the square. We were the ones that did all the hot dogs and hamburgers and all that and then we did the auto show. We did all that. We did all that. That was all me. And I just want to keep continuing on this legacy. I have some family members that are coming on board with me to continue doing it. I have 2 nephews that are all excited about it, and Visconti Cheese Market is going to do it's awesome. I'm excited. We've completely have redone it a little bit. We're adding more meals, prepared meals. We're adding a little more extra products in there. We're giving a little extra in the morning for breakfast and all that. So it's just this big venture that we're doing right now, this big thing that we're doing right now, and I'm happy and I'm proud. There are some concerns regarding what is, in the back of the building and all that, and it's close. But whatever I can do to help straighten this out, I'm here. Whatever we have to do. I run a clean operation, and I'm just excited to hopefully get this thing approved and continue on. We're ready to go. I'd like to get going here by the summer, and I just want to bring good Italian food to family here in Lake Forest. So that's about it. Sorry, I got emotional. It's my mom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now Kathy Cerniak will present identification of the issues by city staff.
Thank you, Chairman Kerr. Either way,
Feel free.
members of the commission. One thing we hear frequently is that we need more restaurants in Lake Forest. The restaurant proposed by Mr. Visconti is going into an established commercial area. Half of the space formerly was occupied most recently by Sauced Pizza, and the other half by an interior design firm. The hours work well with Egg Harbor. At lunchtime with both Chiefs and Egg Harbor and the offices and CVS, parking is tight, but in the evening there is plenty of parking in that lot. That commercial area is actually one of the few areas in the Central Business District that has on-site parking. The other locations where that occur are at the north end of the Central Business District. So There is parking on site. There is also employee parking, both on Western Avenue, permit parking during the day on the east side of Western Avenue, and then in the lots east of the railroad tracks. This area is also within walking distance of condominiums on Bank Lane, of single-family homes to the south, and really within walking distance in good weather of the new condominiums on the east side of McKinley Road, and within walking distance of the Deer Path Inn. So the idea is really to enhance the central business district by continuing to bring in restaurants. We certainly have an experienced restaurateur with a clear commitment, demonstrated commitment to the community. There, as part of your packet, you will notice that there is a plan for improving the trash and delivery area behind this building. That area serves Egg Harbor Chiefs and will serve the new restaurant as well. It was one issue that we identified with the property owners, the Eltunians, when they first began to talk about this new restaurant. That is an area that needs to be cleaned up with fencing, with landscaping. We are recommending a condition that that cleanup occur before we issue the certificate of occupancy for this restaurant. It should be something that can be done here as the weather clears. The other key issue is that throughout the central business district, deliveries and trash pickups are not permitted by 7 a.m. We do get complaints on occasion that there are deliveries in this area prior to 7 a.m. We have been monitoring it. We have contacted the property owner a number of times. Vine Avenue to the south is signed no parking except during church services. We are currently having an issue with Mathnasium, the tutoring establishment located in the same development, with pickups occurring on Bank Lane. We have fairly recently, our Public Works crews installed some signs that say no stopping, standing, or parking to try and encourage people to move along. I have personally talked with some of the staff at Mathnasium. We do know that it is an issue that we need to continue to work on. You do have a number of conditions. They're standard conditions, really, that we apply to restaurants. Again, they pertain to delivery hours. They pertain to assuring that neither customers nor employees park on residential streets, maintenance of the hood on an ongoing basis. As part of the restaurant, a liquor license would be required. That is something that is considered by the City Council and would be considered concurrently with your recommendation on this special use permit for a restaurant. And finally, this is coming to you because it is a standard full-service sit-down restaurant that is located partially within 150 feet of property zoned for residential use. If it was located a little bit further to the east, it would be permitted outright. So restaurants such as Authentico or the Lantern are not authorized through special use permits. They are just authorized by right. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And now we will have questions and requests for clarification from commission members to petitioner or staff. Commissioner Athenson?
Oh, okay. Kathy, I have a quick question for you about the liquor license. Do we make any comments on that, or do we have any oversight on that?
The Plan Commission doesn't have a review role for the liquor license, but the council will not consider the liquor license until they hear your recommendation on the special use permit for the restaurant itself.
Oh, okay. I wasn't clear on that. Okay. So Frank, I have a few questions for you, just real quick. So,
I'm sorry, would you like to come to the podium to respond? Thank you.
So, we live close to Burger King, and so I know how the neighbors feel about, former Burger King. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
But just some of the comments that the neighbors used to have about restaurants. So do you have a special filter on the fans so the neighbors don't smell the food?
Yeah, we have, the system that we have now is all state-of-the-art. and they're very quiet now. You barely hear them. We have, I don't have the plans here with me, but it's a brand new system. It's very expensive, and one of the reasons why we bought it is because of, the noise and everything. We thought about that also too. And the other reason too is when you have a fan system on top of the roof, you can sometimes hear it inside the restaurant. Well, with this new fan, you barely hear anything at all. It's very, very quiet. And I really do understand what you mean by, and it's going to be a very low key. We're not really doing that much. I mean, when you're boiling pasta and making lasagnas, it's mostly stuff that's baked. We're not doing some very serious frying. And my food is 100% fresh. So we get fresh chicken every day. We don't buy anything frozen. We're not having French fries. We're not frying chicken. We're not frying anything like that. It's just baked stuff and sauteed. That's all it is. And from the years I've been in business and restaurant business, and cooking our food, our filtration filters were always clean. It's because we never had any fried foods. We don't take our food and dump it into a deep fryer like a French fryer. We don't do that. I don't even think I'm going to have a fryer at this location because I really don't need one, because everything is sauteed. Pasta, the veal, the chicken, all that is going to be sauteed. There's no frying. There's really hardly any frying at all.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Wow, I'm getting hungry. So Kathy answered the questions about parking and then employees on the East Western, which is good. So then they don't have to
Right.
trek all the way down to that one.
Right.
And then,
And that's the reason why, remember, I didn't want to open up for lunch because I saw that parking lot and I was like, there's no way. There's just no way I can open up for, and I really don't want to. Basically, Lake Forest is a great town, but there's not enough workers or people really going out to lunch here. Hopefully in the future we can attract more people, and that's what I plan to do, is bring some more oomph to Lake Forest and really bring some people in and really have Lake Forest recognized for really good food. And that's my whole intention. But I just want to open up from 5 to 10, and that's all I want to do, because there's really, in the parking lot, there's nobody there. I mean, the whole parking lot is almost empty. So that's the
Okay.
reason why I decided just to open up for it. And plus I have the cheese market. So
Yeah,
I
you're
can't
busy there.
compete, you know what I mean? So,
so in terms of garbage pickup frequency, is that going to be pretty often?
No,
So they're not
I-
dealing with the smells and,
right. I got together with Todd and we walked back there, and I did say, we need to change this. We have to really, make this happen. And that's what we're doing. We're gonna make some changes there and make it. My garbage, like I said, we really don't have any grease. We don't have any of that kind of stuff. We don't even need a grease pen or like that because we're not frying. But I can assure you that Todd is working to get this thing taken care of and fixed.
okay,
So,
awesome.
that's what's
And then just one other question, because you have 2 doors right now.
right.
Are you you're knocking down the wall in between. Are you going to keep 2 doors, or how are you going to do
Well,
that?
so far with the blueprints, we're gonna make one whole front entrance and one door on the side. So all we're gonna have, we're completely knocking out that whole
Yeah.
front end, and we're just gonna have one door to the side, and that's it. That's all we're
Okay.
gonna have. So,
All right. Great, sounds awesome.
okay.
So that's my questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Douglas?
With respect to your new wood-burning pizza oven, would that have a chimney?
Yeah, it'll have an exhaust system on there also, and it's gonna have a filter on there also. You have to. That's part of the fire code. I mean, I've been in this business all my life, and I've learned all the fire. So it will have a chimney. It's actually an exhaust fan, is what it is. It'll be sucking out the heat. But I gotta tell you something. It's just gonna smell like a regular residential home starting their fireplace. That's all it's gonna be. It's not gonna smell like
Right.
any kind of grease or anything like that. So that's about it. Yeah, it's gonna
Great,
have a chimney,
thanks.
yeah.
Commissioner Dixon?
I think this looks like a great proposal, Frank, and, you certainly have the passion and you've poured it in here, and I think it looks like a fantastic plan, and I think the staff has obviously worked with you hard, and, there's some recommendations here that it seems like you're gonna fulfill, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Commissioner Moorhead?
Kathy, does this property comply with the parking requirements in the B2 zone, or does it need to?
It did when it was originally built. Because it's a commercial development, you have tenants and the type of use is changing all the time. So it essentially complies with the requirements that were put in place when the original development was approved.
Okay.
So because it's in the central business district, just like somewhere like the Lantern, the standard parking requirements that would apply somewhere else aren't applied, because the notion is that we really want it to be walkable, we want to provide street parking, and you also have off-site public parking lots, which do require people to walk a few blocks, but hopefully as you get into the comprehensive plan and the central business district and discussions about walkability, it will be even more attractive to walk a block or two if necessary.
Okay, so it's acceptable from staff perspective?
Yes, it complies with the code.
Okay, and then I noticed the application was not signed by the applicant. It was, I'm reading handwritings, but I think it was signed by the property owners, and I'm wondering if that's an issue.
We can certainly go back and have that signed. The
Okay.
key is that it needs to be signed by the property owner.
It does? Okay.
Yes, but we'll go back and make sure that we have something in our file that has both signatures.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay. And I have no questions.
I have one other question, I'm sorry. Kathy, how would the rules, I guess I'll call them rules, that you recommend in the staff recommendation, how would they be enforced? Would those be incorporated into the lease?
That is between the landlord and the tenant. They are incorporated into an ordinance if the council approves those. The special use permit is adopted by ordinance. Special use permits can be revoked if the provisions are not adhered to. We do, in the event that there is noncompliance, we work with the building owner, we work with a restaurant owner or business owner and alert them that there's noncompliance and give them a certain amount of time to bring the property into compliance. So the penalty really could be a revocation of the special use permit or loss of a liquor license.
And who's actually receiving the special use permit? Is it the landlord or the tenant?
The special use permit is specific to the tenant and this business. So if Mr. Visconti left and someone else came in and wanted to operate an Italian restaurant, they would need to come back.
Okay, thank you.
And the ordinance, once the consent is signed, once it's approved, a consent needs to be signed by the owner and the restaurant operator, and it is recorded with Lake County, so it becomes a legal document.
Thank you. Now we come to the public testimony portion of our meeting. Who in the audience would you like to please step forward? And Mr. Visconti, you may sit down. Thank you. Thank you very much. And would you please state your name and your residence?
Sure, I've got that in my prepared remarks. My name is John Cordell, and actually, Susie and I have been neighbors quite a few years of our lives, although not anymore. I've given a hard copy of my remarks to Kathy, and if she wants an electronic copy, I can mail it to her. So I've got 3 pages of stuff I just want to read.
Okay.
I do want to maybe just parenthetically say at the outset, I'm extremely excited and gratified about this new business coming into that location. I think this is going to be great. But we've got real issues on Bank Lane, and I'm going to talk to you about them today. I'm not so sure that this is the body that that will need to resolve them or have the jurisdiction to resolve them, but I do think it's very appropriate that we get it out on the table because it is a conversation we've been having with our alderman, Jim Preschlack, since last year. And I do want to sensitize all of you to the fact that we do have severe traffic congestion, trash, other issues that I'll speak about, and we really need to do something here. I want to see this business go forward, but I want to see us do something with the issues on Bank Lane. So let me just read my remarks, and I'll be quick. Hello. Thank you for allowing me to address the Plan Commissioners this evening regarding the proposed Little Italy restaurant to be located at 508 Northwestern Avenue. And as I said earlier, I'm John Cordell, and I live at 501 Oakwood Avenue in the condominium building right across from the back of CVS. My name is John Cordell. As I said, I was born in Lake Forest and have been a lifelong resident of Lake Forest my whole life. I currently own and live in a unit at 501 Oakwood Avenue, which is a 15-unit condo building built in 1977. My second floor corner unit faces south and also to the west on Bank Lane, which is the rear of the CVS store at 516 Northwestern Avenue, which is the same building that the new restaurant is going in. I'm here tonight as both an owner and also as the treasurer and one of the 5 board members representing our Deer Path House Owners Association, which is the HOA that runs the building. Note that our building last year spent $40,000 in the rear of the building along Bank Lane. We replaced an existing stockade fence along our eastern boundary that was rotting and replaced the driveway entrance to our inside parking that's located under our building, including a new heated surface to melt the winter snow and a widening of the approach. Our board and myself included are unanimously in support of the proposed new restaurant. We are also in support of the improvements planned for the rear of the building, including the new fencing to the garbage areas, the landscaping, and the resurfacing as proposed. Finally, we are very pleased with the restriction of truck deliveries to after 7 a.m. that have been agreed upon with the Viscontis in the city. While the above mentioned plans will be a positive impact in terms of mitigating the overall impact of the new restaurant on Bank Lane, we have a number of issues that we would like to work with the city and the neighboring businesses and property owners to resolve. And let me just go through each of them. The rear of the overall building housing Chiefs, CVS, and the new restaurant is basically unsightly. We would like the owner to review the entire facade and his streetscape along Bank Lane to see what other improvements could be made. Bank Lane is not a service alley anymore. It's a working lane with hundreds of cars and trucks that use it every day for a variety of purposes, residential, commercial, retail, etc. I'll have more to say about this later. I would like the Lake Forest Public Works Department to also survey the curbs, gutters, and sidewalk along this area of Bank Lane and consider improvements or replacement of concrete or asphalt where needed, as there are a number of issues there, and I think my neighbors are also going to speak to them tonight. The trash along Bank Lane is constantly accumulating around the trash areas for the various businesses in the subject building and also the Bank Lane side of the fence along the rear of the car wash on Western Avenue. The latter area includes cans and food wrappers left by workers and is extremely unsightly 365 days a year. At times, I've picked up a full garbage bag of trash just in this area alone on a Sunday afternoon. I've got nothing else to do. Deliveries for the Egg Harbor restaurant run 6 to 7 days a week, all year long. The first trucks roll up early in the morning at 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. as the drivers have their own access to the building. Now, I want to qualify that and say, if something's been done recently to have them push their deliveries to 7 a.m., I'm not aware of that, but I still hear the trucks roll up early in the morning, and if anybody's got a bedroom facing that area on Bank Lane, they're awake for the day. These deliveries go on every day. I appreciate that Egg Harbor is primarily a breakfast restaurant, besides being a longtime, well-loved eatery in our community. We love them, and I understand that it will take some thought and creativity to figure out how they can receive their necessarily early morning deliveries with a lesser noise burden on the neighborhood. So this is not to kick out any of the businesses. We just would like the businesses to figure out if there's a solution to cut down on that noise. And some of these deliveries are, diesel trucks in the middle of the winter. They leave the engines running for a half an hour while they're doing the deliveries. And if you're not awake a half an hour after that, you're a pretty sound sleeper. I do want to call out the Deer Path Inn. Matt Barber, the inn's general manager, has worked extensively with his doorman and third-party parking attendants for events to ensure that they're doing the best they can to manage and mitigate the many car arrivals and departures that occur throughout the week and to minimize any disruption. Also, there's generally not a speck of trash around his building, including the Bank Lane boundary. Additionally, he is extremely responsive to our calls when issues have arisen in the past. They are absolutely our best neighbor. It should be understood that Bank Lane today serves a multiple of purposes to support our neighborhood of commercial, residential, and multi-unit businesses, which are all in very, very close proximity, in addition to people wanting a shortcut access to the south end of the CBD via Bank Lane from people coming from Green Bay or Western Avenue from the south onto Vine Avenue. There are constant commercial deliveries to all of the businesses. There is a constant weekly garbage and recycling pickup for the businesses and single-family and condo residents, and there's the aforementioned traffic from the Deer Path Inn, as well as the impact of the newer Mathnasium Tutor Academy. I have a Google satellite picture at the bottom of these remarks that I've given Kathy that show 15 access points alone onto Bank Lane between Vine and Illinois, including one people access where you go under the building from Bank Lane to the parking. 15 access points, folks, from the south end to the north end. So we've got a garage, a driveway. Folks at 485 have a garage and a driveway. And by the way, both of our driveways, you enter from Oakwood, they're one way, and they dump out onto Bank Lane. There's a garage in the single-family residence at the end of Bank Lane. There's the funeral home. There's the parking area for Chiefs and the new restaurant. There's the back alley that's used for access or exit to the car wash. And then there's the parking lot at Deer Path Inn, the inside parking at Deer Path Inn, as well as the parking lot attendant area at Deer Path Inn, as well as the front access area off of Illinois. With the opening of the Mathnasium Tutor Academy in the rear of the building, and as the same building of the new restaurant, the traffic situation or congestion along Bank Lane has even worsened during their afternoon operating hours. It's common to find a number of cars illegally parked or standing while running along Bank Lane every day when the academy is in session. While this not only adds to the congestion on Bank Lane during afternoon operating hours, it creates a risk with school-aged children being dropped off and picked up. A number of residents and the HOA board members from 485 Oakwood and 501 Oakwood met with Jim Preschluck last summer to discuss these above issues that I've just walked you all through. As we continue to add traffic and congestion with yet again another new business, which we're all delighted to have, it's even more important for all of the property owners, commercial and retail businesses and residents between Vine and Illinois to work together with city staff, coordinating an effort to find solutions to these aforementioned issues. We all want Bank Lane to work for everyone. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for a very organized
Okay. If
presentation with a lot of action requests.
Yeah, if anybody's
Thank
got any questions. And again, thrilled with the new business, and I'm not sure it's you guys' responsibility to fix all the stuff that I've went through, but it's a real mess out there, and now we're putting even more congestion and so forth, on there. And I think we've just got to figure out how we manage this. And it's not the new business owner's fault. He's coming into the situation. I do want to say I'm a little disappointed that the property owner is not here, because I think we could have had a nice dialogue on this tonight.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the audience?
My name is Ellie Clark, and I live at 485 Oakwood.
And Ellie, did we swear you in before? Did you stand up? I
did.
Okay, then would you please come over to the podium so we can all hear you? Thank you.
First of all, I'm thrilled with the new restaurant. I think everybody in the neighborhood's looking forward to just walking across Bank Lane carefully and coming to your wonderful restaurant. And there certainly is a need for it. So I think, are you going to do any carry-out also?
Yes, we're gonna have carry-outs, and we're also gonna be doing catering, so combined with the cheese market and the restaurant, you're gonna be able to order beautiful, assortment of cheese trays or, beautiful, other trays that we do at the deli also. And with the restaurant, that's where we'll do all the hot, catering. We actually are, one of the sections in the restaurant is just made just for catering and prep. And we have, all the equipment that we need to take care of all the takeouts, pickups and all that. We won't have any delivery. I know that's a big problem too. We're having issues with Bank Lane right now. I
Yes.
don't wanna add any more
Right.
congestion to
Right.
Bank Lane. So we decided not to do, delivery. The only delivery that we'll be doing is when we do our catering events.
Right.
And we also have a parking space that it's inside, a little back area there with fence. So, but that's it.
And Ms. Clark, do you have any other questions?
Yes, no,
Okay,
I know, I
because
just would like to say that John spoke beautifully for the neighborhood, for those who access on Bank Lane. These are really very difficult issues for us. And I would like to describe Bank Lane as a major throughway. It's not Bank Lane, it's a throughway, and it's trucks and trucks, cars speeding down. And I don't know how we're going to address this, but we are having issues with people parking and not in the no parking zones, mostly with the school parents. And I think it's really wrong for them to be parked out there. It's dangerous for their children. And we just don't want more traffic to come in than we have. But the parking signs are not addressed. They ignore them totally. And you will go up to them and say, please, would you not park here? And they would get very angry. So it's become a big issue. And as you well know, there's a lot of activity stemming on that back Bank Lane. I call it Bank Drive. I think that the congestion is, very, very difficult for all of us and dangerous. As we come out of our 485 building, we again had our driveway redone this summer. And it's dangerous. You have to bring your car out so far so that you can see to the left and to the right. And that is really a difficult issue, and we're gonna have an accident there someday if people don't drive slower and also, take concern for we who live on that street. And again, we're excited about your coming, and I think that there's a need. We hope that you can encourage your people to park in the front and not, have an issue with Bank Lane. I think we have to take that to all the people who are renting in that building.
I'll make sure I will enforce my staff to make sure they don't park in the back or the.
Right, and we really are thrilled about the landscape plan. I think it's beautiful, and I think it will be a great asset. There are issues with our walkway. Walkway is not safe, and we do use that, and it's there for us to use. The sidewalk, I mean, excuse me, the sidewalk. And then there are problems with the gutter. The gutters are not properly addressed, and they need to be replaced. So we did say this to our alderman this summer, and we have gotten some results. But again, this is an ongoing problem for us. And I'm sorry that we have to use your hearing for this, but we do want you to know that we are welcoming you, but we have concerns.
Thank you. I will
Yes.
try to help you with these concerns.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other members of the audience who want to speak? Okay, and I just ask if in the future, we do have a time for petitioner to respond, and sometimes your voice can't be picked up when you're in the audience. So you'll have an opportunity later on. Thank you. Now we have final questions from the commission to the petitioner or staff. Requests for additional information as well. Commissioner Moorhead,
Nothing further.
Commissioner Dixon,
Nothing further.
Commissioner Douglas,
Nothing.
Commissioner Athenson.
Well, could I just ask Kathy, given that the neighbors have come out and asked about this, is this our purview? And do you have any knowledge of what the discussions have been to address their concerns?
Yes, I was going to respond during response to public comment, but Chairman, if it's okay, I'll do it now.
Sure.
If that's, yes, we
Before
have
you
been in.
respond, Kathy, can we just make sure that there's two issues now, in my opinion, on the table. We're looking at the approval of the petitioner's Little Italy here, and now there, in my opinion, a completely separate issue that has nothing to do with Little Italy per se. So I think we need to, as they say, bifurcate those two issues, and I'd like to see them discussed separately. And if this is the forum to discuss the neighbors' concerns, and I am all for that and welcome the neighbors' concerns. I think there were a lot of great comments here about what is obviously been identified as a major issue. But I just want to make it clear to, I think, the board here and also the petitioner that there's no crossover here. We can't hold the petitioner hostage for a discussion that is valid and has great concerns.
And
It's unfortunate there isn't a representative from the landlord here.
And I do know that the representative, Jennifer Altunian, who was working most closely, she is ill, so she had planned to be here tonight, and she did contact me earlier today and was not able to attend.
I would just add the comment too. I mean, it's not one, in my opinion, looking at this, it's not one owner. You know, I have the Deer Path, there's the car wash, there is the 508 Lake Forest Plaza owner. There's also the funeral home. So I think there's a lot of issues going on here. And again, in my opinion, it's not just 508. From what I've heard and what I've learned tonight, I'm coming into this just listening to this for the first time, but there's more than just one landowner that is, and business owner that is causing, in my opinion,
Right.
what the issues that have been raised here this evening.
So I can respond, and I will bifurcate. I think with respect to the restaurant, in response to the comments raised by members of the public, the enhancements that are proposed, the fencing, the landscaping, cleaning up that back area, the condition specifically speaks to the fact that that does need to be done so that we have some leverage to get that done before the business opens. Again, it's not a big project, should be fairly simple. And there are requirements that employees of the business not park in that area. I think there are 2 spaces dedicated to employees. So those 2 issues are addressed in the special use permit. I can speak to the larger issues, and Commissioner Dixon, you are correct. They involve a much larger group. We have been in conversations with some of the neighbors. I personally have talked to our Public Works Department. There has been, some of the work has been done to improve some of the infrastructure there. There is more work that's on the list. We do know that that's an area where the sidewalks go to the edge of the street, for instance, so we really need to look at that. The other discussions that we have had, we have certainly talked to the police department and asked them to be more present on that street in late afternoon. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I have personally talked to the Mathnasium staff representatives to ask for their help in assuring that parents pick up their children in front of the building rather than behind the building. We've also had discussions internally about whether Bank Lane should become a one-way street. And the opportunity to talk about that is coming up as we talk about the Central Business District and the update to the comprehensive plan. We've often talked about Bank Lane. extending from Vine all the way to Wisconsin and looking at how to enhance that, whether that's some bump outs at the intersection that make it more pedestrian friendly. So Commissioner Dixon, you are correct, that's a separate issue, but we're aware of those issues. We're in discussions with other city departments, but I think there's an opportunity coming up, and we will make sure all of you get notices during the discussion of the comprehensive plan, because I think that's the real opportunity to look at how is that street used. It certainly is a transition between commercial and residential, so there will need to be that activity, but I think there are opportunities for improvement. So I don't know if that
Thank you.
helps to respond.
And when is the discussion on the CBD anticipated?
It is anticipated to kick off very soon. We're putting together the working group and hope to get that group underway, starting with probably a walking tour, some market analysis, and then an early community input session. Likely we'll hold it, I don't know if we'll hold it here or at Gorton, but we will hold it in the Central Business District. So that is next up to be discussed. And Bank Lane is going to be a focus of that study.
And, you know, the great points, I would just add, I didn't mean to interrupt, Commissioner, but Mr. Cordell's, you know, comments I thought were very articulate, very crisp and clean, and stated very nicely. Kathy, to that end, do you know of any meeting that's been facilitated, not necessarily by the city, but by or amongst all the property owners individually, not just, you know, 508, but the other owners that are on this stretch of Bank Lane?
We have not yet facilitated a meeting with all of the parties. The residents have spoken directly with Alderman Preschlack, and I have spoken with him as well. So it is a work in progress, but no, we have not coordinated a meeting. Again, I think the comprehensive plan presents a really good forum to invite all those people in and to have a discussion about this specific area.
And I would agree with that. I would just offer the suggestion maybe that a meeting is somehow encouraged prior to that. I know that the comprehensive plan, you know, sometimes can get pushed back. Just because we have that discussion doesn't mean anything's necessarily going to be resolved per se at that meeting. So I would recommend that maybe a meeting in the interim, in the short term, and maybe it's it's Alderman Preschlack that helps facilitate it, or Kathy, you. But again, in my opinion, it's got to be all the principles of the area in question, not just 508. It's got to be all of them there, because you're not going to. There's a lot of players involved. I know. I mean, the Deer Path itself, I know, you know, takes a lot of deliveries. It has to, right? And they're coming in on that alley too. So I think, you know, when the term, you know, deliveries is used, I don't think, again, I'm just learning this all tonight, but I don't think they're all at 508. I think there's deliveries that are, you know, going in that maybe are associated to 508, but, you know, they're also part of the Deer Path. I could be wrong, but just a statement.
Understood. We will initiate that discussion.
And is there any way you would want to incorporate a suggestion as a separate action item from the commission?
To encourage.
To encourage.
To encourage
Right.
that meeting take place. I think that can certainly be part of it. But again,
Or
I think that's got to be
separate, as you
separate and
say,
apart.
separate,
I mean,
yes.
and my recommendation would be to move forward
Mm-hmm.
with, and I mean, if we're ready, I'd make the motion at this point for the petitioner, Little Italy, to have their proposed restaurant at 508 Lake Forest Plaza pursuant to the, I really counted 6 staff recommendations, because the parking issue is mentioned twice, but the as we've discussed here, the trash improvements, number one. Number two, you know, the redoing of the Bank Lane. Number, you know, three, establishing the parking policies, both for customers and employees, the proper signage, maintenance and inspection of the ventilation system, which we talked about, and assuring that the area is, again, the staff recommendation that they're for monitoring that area. So I would make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the applicant's request for a special use permit to authorize Little Italy, a new restaurant to occupy tenant space in the existing building at 508 Northwestern Avenue with the staff recommendations as itemized by Commissioner Dixon, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion passes. Commissioner Dixon, I really appreciate you separating those issues out, and perhaps we could now make a recommendation to,
And I would, pursuant to that, I would make the recommendation that, that a meeting is facilitated between all the property owners involved on the Bank Lane, between Vine and Illinois that we've talked about here this evening, and including the aldermen, take place to discuss those issues as soon as reasonably possible.
And I would just offer the other thought that occurred to me is, I think it may be beneficial even before that meeting for us to meet on site with perhaps representatives of the police department and our public works department and actually walk that area in the afternoon, so that we can catalog the specific and have the right staff people there at the right time. So we'll do that as well.
I think that's a fantastic suggestion as well.
so we have a motion to recommend.
If a motion so needs to take place, I would make that motion to facilitate a city meeting between the aldermen and the property owners on Bank Lane between Illinois and Vine, and however the city deems appropriate to have that meeting, and whether it is an on-site before a formal meeting or a combination thereof, I would make that motion that that meeting take place, with notice to all the adjacent property owners.
Second.
And I was just going to say, and the Public Works and other
And the
staff.
Public Works and the
So,
staff and
right.
police.
Okay. The motion is seconded. All commissioners in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The recommendation motion passes. As always, we appreciate and benefit from community participation in these meetings. Other items tonight, opportunity for the public to address the Plan Commission on any matters not on the agenda. Any additional information from staff?
We will be in touch with you to confirm your future meeting date and agenda items. With the shifting sands, we'll just keep in touch on meeting dates.
Right. All right, seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.